Well, I wonder, have you ever said something that you instantly knew was the wrong thing to say and wished you could take it back? Well, if the answer is yes, you're not alone. I'm sure everyone watching this can think of an instance in their lives where this has happened. Well, a while back, my dad told me another one of his stories, which may or may not be true. A church had a big organ, pipes, the whole works, but it was very old and it had to be hand pumped. The pump was located behind a curtain just behind the pulpit and was particularly noisy in operation. Well, unfortunately, added to this, the man who pumped the organ was a little hard of hearing, and so often he didn't stop pumping when the organist finished playing, but continued some way into the minister's sermon. Well, this over time infuriated the organist. While another Sunday came along, and it was happening all over again. The minister had begun to preach, and the organ pump operator was still pumping away loudly behind the curtain. Well, enough was enough for the organist. She quickly and angrily wrote a short note and got the attention of one of the choir boys. "Take this at once," she whispered through gritted teeth and pointed towards the pulpit. And she said, "Give this to him and make sure he reads it straight away." Well, meanwhile, the man on the pump was still pumping away, oblivious to all that was going on. Well, the young choir boy did exactly what he was told. He rushed to the front of the church, to where the organist had been pointing. Unfortunately, he was a new recruit and was unaware of the man behind the curtain, and to the horror of the organist, he handed the letter over to the minister, stood in the pulpit, and he said to him, "You're to read this straight away." Well, the minister stopped preaching and opened the letter, which read, "Sit down and shut up at once. People have come to hear me play, not to listen to your racket. Signed, the organist." Well, I'm not sure if that story is true or not, but part of me hopes it is. But it reminds me of a not so funny moment in my life. I was manager of a shop in Boscombe on the south coast of England. And one day as a man walked in, I said quite clearly, "Hello." But he walked past. He didn't seem to look at me. He didn't seem to see me. But he said nothing back. As he looked at the shelves with his back to me, I had another go. "Would you like any help?" But still nothing. The man proceeded to walk out the store. I tried one more time, still nothing. I turned to my colleague. "Well, he was rude, wasn't he?" I exclaimed in frustration and anger. Well, you get awkward or entitled customers in shops all the time, but this, for me, was something else. Then I noticed a little girl I hadn't seen all this time. She was hidden behind a clothing rail. She had heard all that I'd said. She looked at me and ran out of the store. Well, a few seconds later, the girl returned, hand in hand with the man. Humbly they stood in front of me, and the man proceeded to use sign language, and the little girl translated. "My dad says he is sorry, but he didn't hear you, as he's deaf." Well, I apologised and walked to my office, head in my hands. It was fortunate that I was able to apologise straight away, but I felt no less shame. Well, the Bible is full of verses regarding speech. It's one of its hottest topics. Why? Because what we can say can instantly lift someone up or instantly crush them. A gift of love or a weapon of destruction. In James 3 verse 6 we read, "And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness." And again in James, just 2 verses on, "But no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison." Strong words, aren't they? But we know that they're true because we've all felt the sting of someone's tongue, and if we're honest, dealt the blow ourselves on more than one occasion. Our sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, as the saying goes. Well, what utter nonsense. And maybe you're hurting today. You feel wronged. Perhaps you justifiably see yourself as the innocent party, but it's eating away at you. I want to encourage you to come to the cross today. Come to Jesus. He has felt your pain, and you can be sure that he does understand what you're going through. He suffered unimaginable pain, insults, was beaten, whipped, spat upon, stripped naked and nailed to a cross, all on your behalf, paying the price of all sinners who will confess and believe in his name to forgive. He does understand, even when no one else seems to, and you feel all alone. You don't need to feel all alone. As a follower of Christ, he is always with you. And more than that, you can be a new creation in him, born again. All things can be new for those who put their trust in him, in Jesus Christ. In Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 19, we read, "And I will give them one heart, and a new spirit I will put within them. I will remove the heart of stone from their flesh and give them a heart of flesh." Yeah, the people of Israel had forgotten their first love, and they chased after and were distracted by false gods. Well, if they put aside the things of the world and set their eyes back on the one true God, they could be renewed, reunited as a people, as one heart, beating together to serve him and him alone. That's what I want to encourage you. Come to God in prayer with all things, about all things, everything and anything. When our focus is on him, he can change the stony hearts of people that hurt you, and he can change your heart of stone also. Heal those relationships, reunite one another for our good and ultimately for his glory. Well, honestly, you may never get an apology from your aggressor, but in Jesus you will and can find your peace. Cast all your anxiety onto him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5 verse 7. Such a simple but powerful and precious verse. If only we took hold of that, took hold of the true meaning of that verse. He can and will give you the strength you need to move on when you acknowledge him as your Lord and Saviour. Well, perhaps you've wronged someone, said something that you know has caused hurt. Well, turn from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. I'd urge you to go and apologise. Try and make peace. It's worth it. Well, as a man who's been married 20 years, I speak from some experience. I mess up often, and I know the value of saying, I'm sorry. But perhaps you shouldn't ask my wife about how well I'm doing at that, though. But maybe you feel it's too late to apologise to that person. You've lost contact. Maybe they've even passed on, but you're racked with guilt and don't know how to get rid of it. Again, give it to Jesus. Seek your forgiveness for that sin in and at the foot of the cross. Well, it may be hard going. It may take a long time, but he alone can remove your guilt and set you free. Grant you that perfect peace, a peace that is so much more than words.